Hey, this is Rob Dew, news director here at infowars.com and Infowars Nightly News, sitting by with my good friend, Dr. Group. And we're going to be talking about a product that's been around for over 100 years. And people use it every summer. It comes around, and you're probably poisoning yourself because of the ingredients in it. I'm talking about sunscreen. And Dr. Group's talked about it in various ways, but this is a good, I think, self-contained presentation. We're going to be talking about the dangers in the sunscreen you're using and what sunscreens might be beneficial and why you're even wearing sunscreen now, because back in the 50s and 60s, they didn't even talk about putting on sunscreen or fearmonger you as much, and why that is out in the current ethosphere. Dr. Group, welcome. And you've been doing marathon presentations with us, so this is great. We're getting a lot of good information now. But let's talk about sunscreen. There's, 17 ingredients that are improved, but 15 of them are endocrine disruptors. Let's start there.
Yeah. Sunscreen's one of the worst things you can actually put on your body. I'm not saying you don't need sunscreen, but there's other natural ways to protect yourself from the sun. Obviously, if you're going to be out in the sun all day long, that's going to be a problem. But if you look at the history of how sunscreen was developed, and you really go back to the 1950s and the meetings that the American Dermatological Association had with the dermatologists, and you really start getting into how sunscreen was formed, I personally think that there's enough evidence out there that shows that it was done by design to make people fear the sun. We know now that we have more melanoma, we have more skin cancer, we have more skin conditions since the introduction of sunscreen. We also know that dermatological visits have gone up 8 times on average per year since the 1950s. So we know that all the dermatologists are making a lot more money. We know the American Dermatological Society is involved, and we know that they have completely fear-mongered and made people afraid of the sun. Now, if you look at why the sun is, obviously the sun is there, and if you look back in history, we never had any problems with the sun. I mean, the vital component of the sun is to produce vitamin D inside of our bodies.
Right.
So if you look at the rays of the sun, we have the 2 rays that can be damaging. There's other rays, but we'll just talk about the UVA rays, and the UVB rays. So we need the UVB rays to create vitamin D inside of our body. The UVA rays, both can be, the UVB rays are the burning rays. That's what's going to cause you to have a sunburn. The UVA rays are the toxic rays that penetrate down all 7 layers of the skin. And that's important to know because the UVB rays just really hit the first layer of the skin, and that's why you get burned. Most of the damaging effects of the UVA rays are going to be long-term exposure in the sun, day after day after day. Interestingly enough, though, the people that live around the equator, where the sun is the hottest, have the least amount of cancers these days. Now, I don't know if that's just because they're not applying sunscreen or whatever to their bodies, but when you look at the way sunscreen was developed, it was developed with, like you said, a toxic slew of ingredients, even dating back to the 1950s, which now you can link the majority of those ingredients directly to some form of cancer, some form of skin disease. And the fact that this is probably the craziest thing about sunscreens. Sunscreens are manufactured to block the UVB rays.
The ones that cause the burn, because that's what's bad.
Exactly.
Yeah,
the UVA rays are the ones that we need to worry about. The UVB rays are the good ones that produce vitamin D. Obviously, you don't want to stay out until you get burned, but the UVB rays are the ones that we need. And I definitely correlate the incidence of disease, because I tell you, vitamin D deficiency has been associated with practically every single disease out there known to man. And of course, if you block the body's own production or you block the UVB rays, then you're not going to be able to produce vitamin D,
Right.
which is a big issue. So yes, I personally think that nowadays it's scary when you go outside or you go to a water park or you go to a beach and you see moms just spraying on the aerosol, which, by the way, aerosol sunscreens are about 10 times worse than the lotion sunscreens. because the child is actually breathing in the aerosols and people on the beach are breathing it in. I've been down, down beach and someone has sprayed on
Oh yeah.
sunscreen and it just comes right in my face and I breathe it and I'm like, oh my gosh,
We
I
were
can't
at
believe that.
the water park just south of Austin just yesterday. I took my family there, and the lady was in the bus tram, and in the bus tram was spraying it on her kids, and my son goes, "Oh, that's horrible." I said, "Stick your head out the window. You're better off breathing the bus fumes than that crap that's coming out of the spray thing." And in fact, this one article, "The Hidden Dangers of Sunscreen," first thing it says is avoid spray sunscreen. And then the second one is avoid a combination of sunscreen and bug spray, which if you're on the coast of, Florida, North Carolina, there's a lot of mosquitoes there and people are probably using both. And I can't imagine what that is doing to your skin.
Your skin is your largest organ in your body. And when you absorb things through the skin, and especially when you're out in the heat, above all, and all your skin pores just
They're
open
opening
up,
up,
and
yeah.
all you're doing is spraying the most toxic chemicals all over your skin, and your body is absorbing those chemicals and causing problems with the liver, those go directly into your bloodstream. Sometimes they're not even processed by your liver.
Yeah.
So they can go straight into the bloodstream and be deposited or affect any single organ or go up to the brain and disrupt your endocrine system, disrupt your hormone system. Some of the most toxic chemicals in sunscreens are going to be your oxybenzone. That is known as an endocrine disrupting chemical. It's been found to lower the birth weight of girls. It's also linked to allergies, hormone disruption, increased rates of melanoma.
It causes skin cancer.
It actually causes skin cancer. And like what you said, double that up with some mosquito repellent.
Right.
Oh my gosh. Then you're talking about pesticides.
Exactly. And they also say avoid SPF over 50 because it's a false sense of security. It's not going to work anyway. But oxybenzone's listed in almost every sunscreen that's out there, unless you buy some that particularly says no oxybenzone. It's going to be in there.
It's going to be, I went about a month ago and started looking at all the different sunscreens and just the general pharmacy out there. And I was amazed, not only at the active ingredients, which is going to be your oxybenzone, avobenzone, but all the parabens that are in there, propylene glycol, PEG, polyethylene glycols that are in there. I counted 30 cancer-causing chemicals and toxic endocrine-disrupting chemicals that, by the way, according to the MSDS data sheets on some of these chemicals, parts per billion can be affecting your endocrine system or can negatively affect your body. So not only that, you have homosalate, you have the nanozinc right now, but you have the retinol palmitate, which has been taken out of most. One ingredient that is commonly found in sunscreens is just where it says fragrance.
Right. It's a catch-all for like
that is it's a fragrance. It must be all natural.
A little bit of fragrance in it.
A fragrance is how you can get around the FDA with your proprietary chemical formula that can contain up to 1,500 different chemicals. And those are phthalates, and phthalates are one of the worst endocrine disrupting chemicals out there. So, yes, I think that we have a huge problem.
And this is by the FDA approves all this stuff. Listen, if 17 of the 17 ingredients approved for sunscreens, 15 of them are known endocrine disruptors, and they're approved by the FDA. So once again, we see the government approving stuff that can hurt you. Because endocrine disruptors weren't that big a few years ago. Nobody talked about them. It took regular people doing the research and starting to talk about this stuff to like bring it out in the open. Because before, it's like, who cares about your endocrine system? It's small, your blood will filter it out. Your body will filter it out.
We don't care about hurting people. We just care about money. Let's get, hey, let's work a deal and get the stamp of approval on our sunscreen by the American Dermatological Association. And we'll give them 25 cents for every sunscreen sold. I mean,
that's how it works. And people are slathering this on their body. If you go into any of these stores, like any drugstore, anywhere, every single one of those ingredients, look at the back of them. You should check out the article. In fact, it's from Environmental Working Group. They have a really good,
they have good stuff.
Excellent breakdown of what these different chemicals are. The title of that article is "The Trouble with Oxybenzone and Other Sunscreen Chemicals." And these are in 70% of your sunscreens right there, oxybenzones and 70% of them, but all the others are in there too. You need to look at what they have in them and what they say. Now, zinc oxide is one thing. That's what the surfers used to wear, or the lifeguards used to wear. Put that on their nose.
Exactly. I used to wear that when I was a lifeguard years ago.
Exactly. And now they're saying that doesn't have it in there. That's one of the 17, or the 2 of the 17 that's not going to do anything bad to you. But everything else in there is designed to really just disrupt your body's processes. And that's how much sunscreen do you put on over the summer? 3 or 4 times a day you're putting it on?
Especially with all the kids going to camps and everything.
Yep.
I mean, it's crazy. There was I got a 2010 study. That was 6 years ago.
Yeah.
By the University of Zurich that found at least one sunscreen chemical in 85% of breast milk samples. So that means the babies, it's passing through in the placenta.
Not even rubbing on their
And you
skin.
wonder why, you know, we having so many problems with fertility, infertility, children being born, males with, you know, testicular problems, genital problems, hormonal problems, not being able to produce testosterone. I mean, it's just one thing after another. I tell you, another sad thing that's happening with sunscreen is what it's doing to the environment. It's actually killing off coral reefs because of all the swimmers and the surfers and everybody that are putting the sunscreen on. And they've noticed that all over the world, especially around Hawaii and where people are snorkeling around the reefs. And they had aquariums with coral in it, and they just put one tiny drop of sunscreen, and the big huge aquarium was like 250 gallons or something like that, and it killed all the coral in there within a week. So it's not only think about, you know, all that too. It all goes, it gets, you know, you're in the ocean with it, or you're in the lake, or you're in the swimming pool, or wherever. It's got to go somewhere. I mean, it's going to go in your body. You're probably going to, you know, excrete some of it in your urine, then it's going to go down into the water system. It all goes back around in the cycle. The more chemicals that we're using, the more that we're damaging our bodies, the more that we're damaging the earth, the more that we're damaging the animals, the more we're damaging like the whole ecosystem, because we're all connected one way or another, all living beings. You know, we rely on the earth relies on us. You know, it's like, you damage me, like, you know, the earth is being affected by all this stuff too.
Exactly. And, you know, you said earlier that the sunscreens are designed to block the UV rays that actually produce vitamin D in your body. So you're out in the sun to get vitamin D, but you're being deprived of vitamin D. One of the products we even offer, Winter Sun, is a vitamin D supplement. Tell people about Winter Sun and how it could actually, you know, counteract these effects that may happen to you when you're out in the sun, slathering on the sunscreen.
Sure. Well, we've, you know, spent a lot of time evaluating people as far as deficiencies, and looked at the research that's out there right now. And anybody can do the research. Just type in vitamin D deficiency. And what we found is there's definitely, it's almost like iodine in a way, that pretty much everybody is deficient. Even lifeguards that they tested, you know, obviously the lifeguards are probably slathering the sunscreen on, but they tested lifeguards that are out in the sun all day long, and they're still deficient in vitamin D. You look at the Pacific Northwest up there, people that don't get a lot of sunlight, vitamin D deficiency has been linked to cancer. It's been linked to low birth weights. It's been linked to autoimmune disease. It's been linked to mental illness, depression, anxiety. Like I said, you can pick any single condition: osteoporosis, diabetes, heart disease, you name it, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's. You're all going to see a link to a vitamin D deficiency. It's great immune modulator too. You take away the vitamin D in people, and you're going to have more sick people. That's what it amounts to. I think there might actually be some sort of connection there with the sunscreen thing, because they know that if they stop the production, or stop people from getting vitamin D, or stop producing vitamin D, that they're just going to end up with a whole host
issue that they can help
of
you
health
with.
issues. Yeah. So,
and, you know, over 2 million people a year are diagnosed with skin cancer, and that was in 2014. Those numbers are probably going up, just like every other cancer number is. We know that if there is a cure for cancer, the federal government is doing its damnedest to hide that from us. So the only way to protect yourself is, you know, with supplementation, with healthy habits, with eating right. And I think that's one of the great things about Winter Sun. If you're not getting your vitamin D, at least you can know your body is going to be getting a version of that you're not going to get from the sun. at least that's a better way to supplement yourself instead of just starving your body out
Exactly.
of
I mean,
vitamin D.
you don't you really need, even if you're to generate vitamin D production, you need about 10 to 15 minutes of sunlight when the sun is producing the UVB rays, which is usually between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. Here in Texas, I mean, the sun is extremely hot between those. And who's going to go out and just sit out there
Yeah,
at,
and do nothing.
10 o'clock for 15 minutes and then turn around and then go back in?
Yeah.
Some of the natural recommendations that we have people do is to use the natural organic sunscreens. That's why if you go down to South America or something, you'll always see people who work out in the sun. They'll have a straw hat, to protect their face.
Yeah.
And they always wear a light cotton sheet.
Yeah.
Just a white cotton long sleeve shirt is
Reflects
one
the
of the
light.
things that I recommend. That's what I do. I have a linen or a white cotton cool little shirt that I'll just wear on the beach or something like that. And white cotton or linen has a natural SPF factor of about 25 to 28.
Yeah. Well, there you go. And that's what most of your sunscreens are. They fall in that range.
Yeah.
They have the ones that are like 150 and all that. I would never touch those.
But there's good organic, natural ones out there
Yeah.
that don't have any phthalates and chemicals and all that stuff in them that people can use if they're going to be out in the sun for long periods of time, or to protect their children so they don't have to worry about their kids soaking in all those
I have an
chemicals.
embarrassing straw hat as well that I wear on the beach. And usually I sit under an umbrella. I don't go out into the sun unless I'm going to go swimming or if I'm going to play in the sand with the kids, but I'd never just sit out in the sun for long periods of time. But, that is a lot of what it is moderation too. Don't go out in the sun for 6-7 hours a day. Or if you do, wear a shirt or wear, long leggings or something. I don't know. There's ways to do it without slathering on dangerous endocrine disrupting chemicals in your body. I think that's the big story. And then also winter sun. Another thing, super male and super female vitality also. And the best thing to do is educate yourself. Get this article, The Trouble with Oxybenzone and Other Sunscreen Chemicals. And remember the word oxybenzone. Put that in your head. And when you're out shopping for sunscreen, if you're going to get it and you're going to put it on your kids, at least get it without the oxybenzone in it, because that's a known endocrine disruptor. And you're not doing anything by helping your kids by slathering that on your body. Definitely not. So this has been Rob Dew with another Infowars.com special report. Stay tuned for more reports on the Infowars Nightly News and Infowars.com, and also our special YouTube channel, The Alex Jones Channel. Be sure and subscribe to that if you're not already a member. Thanks for watching.